Well, this joke never gets old for me personally.
Give me 1 minute. I'm a picky eater.
Yeah, you picky. You picky everything. That's your...
This, as one comedian now is becoming our thought leader. What in the world is going on here? Is the most trusted name in news now is Joe Rogan, as of course he had very interesting things to say about Donald Trump's latest moves as he sat down with one of the most controversial left-wing radicals of our political time and actually disagreed with him. Wow, I can't believe that really happened here, as of course Joe Rogan is not known for contentious interviews, as it looks like he might be having some buyer's remorse about his latest political involvement, as I think his latest interview with this controversial political figure was definitely very telling. We're going to be talking about that as well as the larger kind of cultural aspect of all of this, all here on this independent media broadcast. Subscribe, click the notification button if you appreciate these types of videos, as of course Joe Rogan is becoming a cultural and political juggernaut that you just cannot ignore. As the Daily Mail has this article, the most trusted news source for young men revealed. And it's a major issue for Democrats. It is. The Democrats are spending huge amounts of donor money, tens of millions of dollars, trying to find their Joe Rogan, when Joe Rogan, with his recent interview with Bernie Sanders, highlighted how he could be on their side if they were just normal, if they didn't obfuscate and try to destroy any type of critical thinking. And listen, they could have had Joe Rogan. They had him, and they could have kept him if they would have just been respectful and not had emotional freakouts over him presenting ideas that he was just contemplating, which of course was not okay. You take care of your own health. Not okay. You question us forcing men into women's sports. Not okay. And it was these little kind of niche issues that slowly and surely etched Joe Rogan to the point where he endorsed Donald Trump as the president of the United States, as his latest comments with Bernie Sanders about his issues about the war here echoes the kind of frustration that a lot of people have been feeling. As of course, Joe Rogan had this to say with Bernie Sanders that, of course, is a very politically safe thing to say. But Joe Rogan saying it has more of an impact than we could even really realize, to be personally honest.
Don't you think that there's a Streisand effect to that? Don't you think that there's a blowback for that kind of thing when people recognize that this guy should be allowed to have his own opinions and make some reasonable points, and that people are going to reject this idea?
Maybe.
And that it's not as simple as... I think the whole MAGA thing right now is very divided, particularly because one of the things that they voted for was no war. Well, now it seems like we're in a war.
Yeah. So far, there's a ceasefire. Luckily, it's holding. But listen, as we told you with our deep down the rabbit hole analysis, there's no accident that the U.S. intelligence has all of their fingerprints on attacks on two major nuclear alleged arsenals during the very beginning of Trump's term. Okay. Alexander Dugin talked about this, how we are already in a nuclear world war type of scenario and don't realize it. That's his theory. We talked about it in the last video that we did that I think is important to watch here. But the divide over a lot of the people in the MAGA movement, which was Make America Great Again, was diverted to MAGA. Make Iran, quote, great again, regime change. That's what was toted around here, as the vast majority of people, of course, did not want that. Now, there was confusing polls highlighting vast majority of people didn't, some people wanted, vast majority wanted. And again, it's hard to believe any of these particular polls here, but it's pretty clear here. Donald Trump promised no new wars, and then here we are bombing a country and their, quote, nuclear facility, and now we're arguing about if those strikes actually worked or not, deliberating if there could be potentially even more of a potential conflict and fight here, as the Iranians are running off to China, trying to create more of a partnership with them. But that's beyond the point here. Joe Rogan's comments here specifically about, hey, the MAGA movement split, and politically, that's not good for Republicans. That's really good for the liberals. If you're a Bernie Sanders, if you're a Democrat type, especially those people in the middle, because, the people in the middle, we had those Nancy Pelosi's. We had those kind of Chuck Schumer, old school, corporatist, globalist type of Democrats. We don't like those. We like people that are a little bit more radical. And I think that's why we're seeing the kind of political rise of individuals like AOC, Bernie Sanders, Zohran, the new soon-to-be probably mayor of New York City, unless some crazy things happen. And again, crazy things happen in our political discourse. But the people in the middle are going to be more swayed by those voices because those voices are more kind of reminiscent of just a little bit of those populist leanings, those little bit popular. We just want to be treated good. We just want to make sure our problems at home are taken care of. And the more that the economic financial systems are rigged, which they are through the Federal Reserve banking system, looking at the kind of deeper perspective and picture of this, backing away and looking at it, listen, a lot of those young people that are screwed over by those college student loan debts, they have no economic opportunities. They have no opportunities to own property. They have no opportunities to actually make a solid living, to be able to have any types of family, as well as the social decay and destruction all around us with the dopification of our society that's becoming ever so technocratic and artificial and fake and just predatory against individuals is going to drive people towards the far left here. We'll finish playing Joe Rogan's comments. And we have other comments with his disagreement with Bernie about Musk, which I found very fascinating. But before playing all that, we wanted to pay the bills around here. As of course, we have a great shop, a shop that I pride myself on because it is my shop. It is my store. And I made sure I have the best products on there. We just got, if you watched my Instagram story yesterday, we had a whole huge shipment. I was carrying boxes all day of creatine. Why? Because we sold out. And the people who, of course, bought it, pre-ordered it, you guys get a special gift. And we want to thank you guys. Stephanie was like, I feel sorry these people waited because we were out of stock here. Stephanie should have been on top of it. But it's okay. I'm kidding. No, truly, creatine is some of the best stuff out there that is really good, really powerful. And that's why it's sold out so quickly, because a lot of people who bought it, tried it out, bought it again. And I'm like, this is a 2-month supply. Some people recommend more than 5 grams. This one's empty. I was getting worried because my personal supply was getting empty. And I'm like, I want to make sure I have this stuff. You know why I want to make sure I have this stuff? Because a lot of other stuff out there is fake. It's filled with fillers. It's filled with nonsense. This stuff, 99.99% pure from Germany, Deutschland. And the Germans don't play around with their rules, their laws, their regulations, and truly their standard of care towards supplementation is a little bit higher than here in the United States, where literally there's like fake products out there that are made to look like real products with reputable companies. Again, this is our company. We ship it out personally. No middleman here. We source it from some of the best places on earth, and creatine is amazing when it comes to cognitive function, amazing when it comes to muscle recovery and your overall health and personal wellness, especially if you are a woman whose ovaries are drying out. If you're going through menopause, I don't know how else to say it, sorry. If you're going through menopause, creatine is good. If you're someone who is doing any kind of physical combat, if you're trying to make sure that your brain is taken care of, look at the studies between creatine and combat sports and people who don't take creatine, and do your own research before putting anything into your own body. Talk to any kind of medical professional that you want. A lot of misconceptions about creatine, but for me overall, I mean, I try to work out as much as I can. I try to be as active as I can, and I need to be on tip-top shape. This helps me do it. I truly do enjoy this product. I tested on my creatine levels through my blood, and it's like, yeah, you're good. I can't recommend this stuff enough. Super good, super powerful stuff. And wearechange.shop is where you get it, and support this independent media organization. 2-month supply just for $53. Now let's continue on with Rogan's comments here about the divided state of MAGA. As of course, I thought, during this kind of very tumultuous time, it's going to come back again. There was a lot of people that were audience captured. There's a lot of individuals that specifically wanted to be liked by their audience, and then when they faced a little bit of pushback, got rid of their morals and said, no, I trusted the plan the whole time. I just don't hurt me, please don't follow me, please. And I'm like, dude, that's how they win. That's how the audience hijack. And to think that this wasn't orchestrated and organized through the military-industrial complex that could be getting billions of dollars, if not trillions of dollars from all of this, you're kidding yourself. The Pentagon, the Israelis have been doing this, sock puppet accounts, fake people, AI systems, real people at offices. Look, we're typing up fake comments in order to engineer consensus. And with some people that waffled and cared more about their views and their follow count, they were able to convince them. And then they came into some other influencers and they're like, here's $1,000 per post. You're going to post this for us? People are like, yep. And it's very little money. Milo Yiannopoulos actually exposed this. And sadly, a lot of people were bought off. And a lot of people did support the conflict. Here's
Right.
what else Joe Rogan has to say.
And it's quick. We're 6 months in, and that's already popped off. And then people are very concerned with now what happens to our troops overseas that are in these bases, that are in vulnerable positions.
Now, luckily, nothing happened. Now, this was shot before the ceasefire was announced. Joe Rogan usually has a time period. Thank goodness. And this is the one saving grace that people give Trump. And give Trump at least this saving grace, okay? Because I don't believe in just being a foaming at the mouth, never Trumper, because there are some people who are like that. You call out the bad, you call out the good too. No American soldier lost their lives here. And there was a theater, a wag the dog type of moment that allowed no major civilian life lost. Now, there was, contrary to Misfit Patriot, who came out, he said, there was no civilians infected. The civilians wanted to topple the Iran regime. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that want to get rid of the Iranian regime. There's a bunch of people that want to get rid of Bibi. And they think Bibi's very corrupt, as he's facing very corrupt charges, as Donald Trump is now telling everyone that those charges should be dropped immediately. I don't know why, but listen, I think we know a little bit why. I think we know. I think we're getting the perspective here. But a lot of civilian infrastructure was also hit, specifically when it came to power plants, when it came to water treatment facilities. There was, video footage of sewage going down the streets of Tehran, as of course the citizens of Tehran were told to evacuate immediately by Donald Trump on Truth Social. I'm sorry, but that's not going to, of course, create a situation where you're going to love the people doing that to you. So Misfit Patriot is wrong because he attacked my homie, Tim Pool, recently, because Tim Pool was like, no way, people, you're trying to tell me this nonsense. And then Misfit made a video, and I saw his eyeliner, and I'm like, I got to respond. I guess this is my response, sort of. Anyway, here's the rest of the Rogan clip.
And what happens with, there's supposedly documented terror cells that got in through the open border over the last 4 years. So what happens now in America? What happens on American soil?
Sure. No, I agree with those.
When a guy like Thomas Massey steps up and says something like that, he's going to have a lot more support as well.
The answer is yes. And my only point is he has a right.
Yes.
Somebody else says, hey, I think the war is a great idea. Fine, that's your view. You got to go back. But what bothers me is that if anybody stands up, the next day, we're going to primary. You're out of here, man.
It's not just primary. It's also big donor money that's being organized by Donald Trump right now, trying to primary and take out Thomas Massey. And, of course, if you look at what happened to Dennis Kucinich, Cynthia McKinney, and other kind of populist members of Congress, they were attacked by the Democrats and the Republicans that worked together, in some instances gerrymandering, in some instances just changing the districts totally and figuring out ways to, of course, eliminate and get rid of them. And in many instances, they were able to, of course, do so. Now, will the same thing happen to Thomas Massey? Well, it is Massey. It is disappointing to see Donald Trump endorse Lindsey Graham and then tell everyone, vote against primary, get rid of Thomas Massey. And Thomas is the only one that's actually willing to stand up against a lot of this kind of insanity here. Rogan, again, not the strongest of statements here. He just kind of did a statement of fact here about what was going on here. What I found really interesting was how Joe Rogan and Bernie Sanders actually disagreed. Again, Joe Rogan doesn't usually disagree. He doesn't usually push back. Here he actually did. As they talked about big money in politics, as of course Sanders was complaining about Elon Musk, which is a ridiculous notion here, since Elon Musk is like persona non grata at the White House now, as Elon Musk talked about how Trump is on the Epstein list. Now, yeah, Elon Musk spent $270 million donating to Donald Trump, as this election cycle had a $1.5 billion spending spree. It'll be curious to see if Bernie actually brought up how the Andelsons were also major big donors to Donald Trump here. But the spat here specifically started over the conversation about Trump's lawsuit with 60 Minutes, as Bernie Sanders says that is clear kind of intimidation here. And then, of course, he went into the conversation about Elon Musk buying politics. And again, that's a poor example. That's a very, very poor example. As Wall Street Ape says, this clip is wild. Joe Rogan confronts Bernie Sanders about 60 Minutes editing out Kamala Harris, rambling nonsensical questions to answers, and then inserting answers to those that, quote, make more sense. Bernie says, quote, you're walking a dangerous path, and defends the mainstream media.
But what about the other the other lawsuit with the conversation that they had with Kamala Harris, where they edited the answers that she had to make it look more precise?
Yeah, they edited out her incoherent statements, and now they're being sued for it because this is a way of rigging the elections to make a candidate look more competent than they were, as a way to, of course, attack Donald Trump here. The mainstream media overwhelmingly had negative coverage of Donald Trump towards insane levels. And that bias, I mean, it cannot be allowed to continue. And that's why I'm in support of Donald Trump doing this, because if he doesn't do this, they're going to keep rigging elections in the favor of their favorite corporatist candidate. And they will lie and obscure and manipulate real data, real information, real candidates from us in order to push a narrative that luckily successfully didn't work. But again, it could work in other instances, and it did push the goal line a little bit, and it needs to be addressed immediately. And I agree with Joe Rogan here.
60 Minutes, they were suing 60 Minutes.
Yes.
Is, to my mind, historically, even around for a very long time, you know, they're not infallible. But I think you look at most objective people will say 60 Minutes has a sterling reputation for investigative journalism. Are they wrong?
No. They're absolutely awful and horrible, and this is why the mainstream media is dying out, and people are going to Joe Rogan because Joe Rogan is not full of crap.
That's not investigative journalism if you change someone's answers. If you ask her a question and she comes with a rambling answer that doesn't make sense, and you edit that out and insert another answer to a different question that seems more cogent.
All right, Joe, then you're walking down, you're walking down a dangerous path. Suing media has the impact of intimidating media. All right, if somebody sues you, all right, let me finish. All right?
Okay.
Somebody sues you, you know, why not you? You could be sued tomorrow, right? Because you are doing this, you're too sympathetic to this.
Right.
And Joe, you did that, and they have a big law firm behind you, and you're going to have to spend zillions of dollars defending yourself. You know what? Next time you do an interview, you say, maybe I'm not going to go in that area. Right?
No, but it's not that. It's editing things to make this deceptive editing.
Yeah, that's where the manipulation kind of came in here. I'm happy Joe Rogan is pushing back on this, because normally he would be, okay, let's move on. But now, I hope this is a new era of Rogan here, who's saying, hey, listen, it's not just that you talk about something, it's editing it, all right? And this is why people like Joe Rogan, because he doesn't edit that I know of. He releases a full-on 2 to 3 hour conversation sometimes 4 hours of people just talking to each other. That right there is a level of kind of authenticity that the corporate media never has, because it needs to package their trash. They need to put lipstick on the pig. So you try to, kiss the pig. Don't kiss the pig.
Joe,
so in deceptive editing, you give people a different perception of who this candidate is than reality.
Right, but you got to explain.
But that's not objective journalism.
I know, but
that's campaigning for that person.
Right, but
would you agree with that?
I don't have those details. I don't know that I agree with your analysis of it. I don't know enough.
I think that's universally accepted that that's what they did.
And you got to tell me why he is suing ABC. Why are you suing Meta?
Let's just talk about the 60 Minutes one first.
No, but it's not just
we could go to ABC, but I'm not aware of that one either.
Well, George Stephanopoulos said something that he didn't like. But the point is,
what did Stephanopoulos say?
I can't remember. It was I honestly don't remember. But
I think what he was saying was factually incorrect about the results of one of Trump's trials.
All right. Guess what? if I were to sue everybody who said things that were factually incorrect about me, I'd be suing people zillions of times.
But this doesn't involve an election, okay? That's the big difference here.
But Joe, what you're saying is, look, does media get it wrong sometimes? Absolutely. Should you have the most powerful person in America suing media? What is the impact of that? The impact is clearly intimidation.
They didn't get it wrong. They purposefully presented an idea that was false. That's a big difference there.
He wants to defund public broadcasting.
Socialist, communistic, left-wing, insane woke doctrine. Yes. And it deserves to be defunded since clearly there's a big political bias here, and it's not public broadcasting. It's left-wing, woke, pink armpit hair, flip-flop wearing, Starbucks drinking yuppie Kool-Aid.
NPR, why is that? Well, because they also would run critical stories of him. This is part, in my view, without getting into
They run critical stories of people just being white. Oh, they're right, they're bad.
any one case. It's part of a pattern that says, hey, I got the power. Don't you criticize me. You criticize me, I'm going to sue you. So it's not whether this show was right or wrong. There are shows every day they get it wrong. It's
not about right or wrong. Bernie's totally wrong here. There's more to this clip. If you enjoy this video, let me know. I'll make another one talking about the Elon Musk segment and playing this segment. If you want me to do that, let me know down in the comment section below. The more you share this video, the more a video does well, the more I'm going to be talking about those type of similar topics. So if you enjoyed it, subscribe, click the notification button, get yourself some creatine to boost all aspects of your life and be the best, most amazing version of yourself. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/wearechange.